Lamar Jackson has a new secret weapon. Welcome to the playoffs. Now, there is a narrative out there about Lamar Jackson having a monkey on his back for not winning a playoff game. This was simply untrue. The reason why it was there is not Lamar. The reason it was there is because his coaches were outcoached in back-to-back playoff games. That is not what you saw last game. You have to tip your cap to either Harbaugh or Roman because their second half alteration versus Tennessee killed the kryptonite. Tennessee Titans defense and the way that they had structured their defense against Baltimore in the playoffs of 2019 was a watershed moment that unraveled the entire 2020 season for Baltimore. It gave the entire league an answer. Kansas City doubled down on it, other teams copied it, and it became the norm. And Baltimore had never shown an alteration to this until the second half of the game against Tennessee last week. It's because of that coaching alteration that the monkey is off Lamar's back and that the league should be very concerned, especially their next opponent. As soon as Baltimore got the ball in the second half, you saw the change. It was dramatic. We started tweeting out about it immediately. Tennessee, Vrabel, you are now getting flanked. You have to alter or this is going to go poorly. And Tennessee never altered, which makes that 4th and 2 decision of Vrabel to punt the ball away that much more troubling. And having those flanking plays, that wrinkle in their playbook, that's a problem for everyone. And the main reason for this is, what do you do against Baltimore? Well, you pack the triangle. What can't you do against a team that's flanking you? Pack the triangle. Okay, so that's the alteration that they brought in to take away what everyone was doing to them. And it worked like a charm. Tennessee's cloud coverage ended up getting outnumbered on the right or the left, whichever way Baltimore went. The wide receiver who ran the boundary route pushed the corner. As soon as the corner got pushed, they took the easy check down route underneath it, and the wide receiver was the lead blocker, and they picked up easy yards every single time. They did the same thing with the running game +1 concept, Lamar keeping the ball, outflanking the defensive line, and being able to get that edge and get upfield. But this really hadn't been shown by Baltimore against the teams that were packing the triangle against them. They had this ace up their sleeve and they were holding it back, and kudos to them for pulling it out against Tennessee. But what you need to understand about the vast majority of that flanking concept is that everyone, the way that Baltimore drew it up, is a triple option. It is a triple option. You have the ability to have the wide receiver go vertical or post. You have him as the lead blocker if the outlet is the one where they are outflanking you. But if not, and your corner stays up in a cover 2, which you'll likely see from Buffalo, that outlet isn't there. But behind it in the cover 2 window is that post vertical. Also, Lamar can keep that himself, and now he has the blocker on the outlet corner, the blocker on the safety, and you better catch Lamar. He's going to run all the way up the sideline for a touchdown. This is a very, very good alteration for Baltimore. It's one of the pieces that I was waiting for them to start doing more. This is something New England used against teams that Baltimore had issues with in the past. But what does this matter against Buffalo? It doesn't. Because Buffalo is one of the few teams that holds their identity. And it will be very interesting to see if, like always, Buffalo holds their identity. Because Buffalo doesn't pack the triangle. Buffalo refuses to pack the triangle. Buffalo won't force Baltimore to go to the flank routes because what Baltimore wants to do is what Buffalo gives you. The zone running right down the chute. The overload crossers and meshes to the middle that have windows for the wide receiver to find. The tight end across the middle behind the linebackers in front of the safeties. These are the things that Baltimore wants to go to. That is their bread and butter. And if Buffalo does what Buffalo does, and Buffalo always holds their identity, then Baltimore's A game is going to work against Buffalo. Where it becomes worse is how Buffalo uses their defensive ends in a quarterback running capable system. So Buffalo will leave their defensive end in the C gap, D gap on the line of scrimmage, holding that contain. Well, that disjoins the defensive line's containment and allows for an alley right up the middle. You wash the zone down, the defensive end stays out there to guard for Lamar, and the running back gets shots right down at the chute at the linebackers up the field. This is very similar to what Colts were able to do with Jonathan Taylor, except for instead of Rivers not being a running option, Lamar is. And if you leave your defensive end in that outside contain, guess what? He can't stop Lamar either. So you're damned both ways. And that's the way Buffalo does it. We've seen a number of teams try and do that way against Baltimore last season, and every single one of those teams failed. If Buffalo brings their linebackers up to send pressure, that opens up the triangle. If Buffalo decides to finally pack the triangle, Baltimore has the flanking counter, and the speed of Buffalo will be taxed in that. There is really no answer for this Buffalo defense against this Baltimore offense. And the biggest piece of that puzzle came to fruition last week, because when Baltimore altered into their flanking style offense in the second half against Tennessee, we started alerting everybody on Twitter that this is a change. We have not seen this very much. This is an ace up a sleeve moment. Vrabel has to change, or this whole second half is going to tilt away against him. And that's exactly what happened. From that point forward, Baltimore was in control on the offense. They were moving the ball every drive. It was incredibly difficult for Tennessee to stop them. And in the first half, Baltimore had run their standard stuff. And if Lamar Jackson doesn't break a phenomenal run on his own, they don't score any more than 3 points, and they don't move the ball at all. The second half, they were in complete control. They had their answer to Tennessee. They slayed their kryptonite. Give a round of applause to Harbaugh and Roman for whomever picked that idea up, because it was a great counter. But now that's a great counter that the whole league has to deal with, and that is a big piece of the puzzle going forward. So on one side of the ball, Buffalo's going to keep their identity as an offense, and Baltimore needs to keep their identity as a defense. On the other side of the ball, Baltimore has both sides of the coin now, and if Buffalo keeps their identity, then they're going to get beat. And if they change their identity, Baltimore showed us last week that they have an answer for that too. So if you're a Buffalo fan hoping for a win this weekend, you need Josh Allen to light it up, and you need Baltimore to panic out of what they do, because it needs to be a shootout. And if you're a Baltimore fan who's looking for a win this week, you need your team to be exactly who they are. That's it. Because this is not a good matchup on either side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills. I love you guys. We need you. Stay strong, and I'll see you on the other side.